What the hell? That's not the right one. Hold on. Redo. Thought that soundboard looked different.
Uh-oh.
Hold on. It's cool. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to the #1 sports podcast, broadcasting Sundays at 9 a.m.-ish in Sacramento, California. Sports Talk 916. Now here are your hosts, Greg Bowl and Coach Greg Barosa.
Good morning. It's Sunday. We're way-ish today, but got a lot of good stuff for you. It's Sunday, and that means it's time for this little shindig we call Sports Talk 916. Welcome to episode 273. My name is Coach Greg. I'm one of the two-headed monsters of Greg that we call Sports Talk. And right there is Mr. Chief Greg Bowl. And he's the better half of the Gregs that talk about sports. What's happening?
What's up?
Nothing much. Same old quiet week as always.
Right. Yeah. Nothing ever happens here.
No.
You have a good week?
I did. It was busy as hell. And just fighting the good fight, trying to get shit to happen.
Right. Definitely feel you on that. Cool. So as you can tell by the purple heading, there's going to be a lot of Kings banter.
Yes.
A lot of talk. Not so much of it on the court, but more of it on social media. And we're going to get into Kings fans, and it's getting ridiculous. Like, it literally is getting ridiculous, and everyone just wants to bitch about everything. And I'm pretty much tired of it. I know you are. You get into it about as much as anybody else does on social media, and it's pretty bad. So we'll get to that a little bit later. April can't come soon enough. Yeah, we want some baseball. Giants lost their first preseason game yesterday to the...
Can I just tell you that I had a pretty crappy day yesterday. There was a lot of shit going on. And I don't know, it was about 12:30 or 1. And I was slipping down the radio, and I heard the beginning of the broadcast for spring training. And I don't know what hit over me, but just a big smile came out. It was really cool to hear just even the talk, even to hear John Miller's voice and him calling the first couple of pitches of the game. Now, after the first couple of pitches, the game sucked. And but, it's just cool to hear baseball on the radio again. It just kind of brightened up my day for about 35 seconds.
Yeah, no, I didn't catch any of the game, but I saw something that popped up. I got a CBS alert on my phone, and it was like, first pitch, and I was like, yes, it's finally that time again. I can't wait. I can't wait to catch a game. It's gonna be a blast. So for sure, but we'll get into some baseball talk. Today is gonna definitely be Kings heavy. So if you are a member or a fan of the Sacramento Kings, and you are a member of any of the various Sacramento Kings fan groups, be sure to share this, because I have a ton, and when I say a ton, I mean a ton of screen grabs from the weekend for the hysteria that circles around the Sacramento Kings. And we're going to get into a lot of it, and I'm going to keep names out, but there's going to be a lot of talk about the stupidity, in some cases, the passion, in some cases, I don't know. We'll get into it, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But first, we're going to kind of do calling it the random roundup. We're just going to kind of run through everything. We're going to figure out what we want to talk about, what's going on in the world of sports, and go from there. The big story that started out over the weekend was in Florida. Patriots owner Robert Kraft apparently wanted to add a little bit more controversy to the organization in a way. Was arrested and charged with a couple counts of soliciting prostitution. What's your thoughts on that?
So at first I just thought, oh, what an idiot. How could he get caught up with that? I mean, the guys, first off, I have to applaud the dude. He's 71 years old and still can go do that and get all that taken care of. So,
I saw a fake Twitter. Someone edited one of his Twitter posts, or edited a Twitter post with a blue check mark and put his name on it, and it said, "What do you expect? It's hard to do it yourself when you have 6 rings on your hand." And I thought that was pretty clever. But yeah. So
I my first thought was, is this the Deflategate 2.0?
Right. Someone's balls were getting deflated.
Right. But no. At first I thought, okay, the dude got caught up in something he shouldn't have been. No big deal. And then I was listening to sports talk radio yesterday, and overwhelmingly it was, well, let's see what happens. Let's see how it's adjudicated. Let's see all this stuff going on. And I thought, God, maybe I'm missing something here, because what happens if a black athlete gets caught doing the same thing? And I don't want to open up a big can of worms, but there's a big difference between being a white owner and a black athlete. And I just can't imagine that, if some defensive tackle does the same thing and word gets out, that he's not roasted and he's getting.
Well, let's take it off defensive tackle. Let's put it on one of the most prominent and scrutinized African-American players in the NFL. What if it's Colin Kaepernick?
Yeah.
What if Kaepernick didn't have the kneeling controversy, but he got caught up in this? Would it be the same?
I don't think he wouldn't get the same. He wouldn't get the same leash to. Dude, really?
Sorry.
God. He wouldn't have the same slack issued to him as Kraft is. He'd get roasted. And I think most other players would. And I almost think that it would be any player. But, if there was a black player that went out there, got caught for this, there'd be talk of him being involved in the sex trafficking and supporting it. And he'd get roasted. And this is the first time. This is the first one that's hit me that I realized that maybe we're not, that there's.
The only caveat to that I say is, if this was a year ago, before the Colin Kaepernick thing happened, or around the Greg Hardy, the Ray Rice, all of those things, I think regardless of who it was, anybody would have been crucified for it.
Yes.
There's been a shift in the magnification of issues in the NFL to the point where they're not jumping to conclusions as much as they used to.
No, I disagree with that. What about Kareem Hunt?
Let me finish my thought, because Kareem Hunt wasn't immediately released or suspended. It's just an investigation. Antonio Brown had a thing come up last week, and they kind of just said, we're going to wait and see what happens. We're not going to take any action. Reuben Foster, while the Niners were quick to respond because of the fact that he was simply involved in another altercation with police, there wasn't a ton of headline that, basically called for his job. The Niners released him. He hasn't been suspended. He hasn't had anything happen by the league. The league is taking a much more passive aggressive approach on just throwing the book at people, where they're actually letting legal proceedings kind of pan out a little bit. They're letting more information hit the media before they jump to conclusions. And like I said, based on the difference was the Greg Hardy, the Ray Rices, the, insert controversy here, like a year and a half ago, the second an NFL player's name was in the thing, the NFL was like suspended, fired, cut, like indefinite.
Yeah, but was it Kareem Hunt was let go the next week?
Yeah, but he hasn't been suspended. The NFL continuously says we're not making a decision on his potential punishment until more facts come out. Like they're taking the similar approach to Robert Kraft, and they're letting it play, because originally it was the first headline that came out was Robert Kraft arrested in sex trafficking and prostitution sting.
Right.
And the headline spun it as he was the one running the whole thing. And you're like, holy shit. And then as more information came out, it changed to he's a suspect for soliciting prostitution. He didn't have anything to do with the sex trafficking, whatever, and it's already started to slow down, kind of like the Kareem Hunt and the Reuben Foster thing did, where it was, arrested for this. And then it was like, well, we're kind of pulling the reins back. We're going to let the legal proceedings pan out. I think the Colin Kaepernick and the Ray Rices and the much higher magnitude accusations and cases overshadows the approach that they've taken in the last year. I think the NFL is really, their PR department has done a really good job not bringing the attention to these guys until more information has come out. I do agree with you that if it were a minority owner or player, the magnifying glass would probably be turned to a different strength. But I still think that the NFL has groomed themselves rather well to kind of let things play out a little bit. What's more interesting to me more than anything is Adam Schefter and a few other people reported almost immediately that there's another name involved in all of this that's a more high-profile name than Robert Kraft, and it hasn't come out yet.
Wonder if his initials are Roger Goodell.
Oh my! Can you imagine if Goodell or I don't know, but and Ron says white privilege is real. Let's be real about white privilege in this country, and yeah, I mean there definitely is a leveling factor of that, but there's there's also the thing of money talks. If it were a perfect example of that is, like Floyd Mayweather, and who was the other one that had an accusation and simply was it Reuben Foster. Reuben Foster in the first two cases was able to successfully pay off the woman that was accusing him, and they brushed it under the rug. So, I definitely agree with Ron that there is a problem when it comes to identification of issues amongst race and in many cases gender and financial stability. But I think in sports, especially, if you can just pay someone to hush money, then I think that's a bigger problem than anything. Mm-hmm. Maybe not than anything, but that's a big problem alongside of it, because you're just like, hey, on the side, and they may not be doing it themselves, but like, if I get caught up, you as a buddy of mine goes to that person on the side and goes, hey, I have the authority to cut you a check for X amount of money. Just shut the fuck up. And they're like, okay. And I think that should be.
Said our president did that.
Yeah, that should be prosecuted just as much as I think the crime itself, because you're basically strong arming someone not to do it. But this isn't something we're going to get into a deep discussion on.
No, and just one more thing on what Ron says is, and just to follow up with what you said, is there might be a little bit of white privilege, but I think it has more to do with him being a billionaire and him being able to pay stuff off than anything else. I think it's money privilege, and I agree with you that money talks big time.
And Ron says more money, better attorneys, charges dropped. All I'm going to say to that is O.J. Simpson.
Yep.
O.J. Simpson had more evidence against him to prove that he murdered those people than damn near any murder case ever. And because he could afford Johnny Cochran and his legal staff, he got out of it because of the fact that he could literally buy the best team ever, and he had a polarizing aura around his head. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, money is money. They always say it, right? Money's the root of all evil. And it applies to damn near any situation on the planet.
Yeah.
And like you said, our president's done it. There's been drug lords in Mexico that have gotten away with it. So it runs, and criminals at every level in between. So
yeah.
Like I said, I'm more interested to find out who the hell the bigger name is than Robert Kraft. That's what I want to know.
How many?
Is it Trump? Like, I mean, I want to know who the hell it is, because Kraft has a lot of people around him.
What would happen if it was Brady or Goodell?
If it's got to be anybody, I'd pray it's Roger Goodell. Like, I think that would be because can you imagine if Roger Goodell's name comes out and let's say it's even if it's as simple as he was soliciting prostitution.
Oh God.
Or maybe he was one of the guys funding it, or a ringleader of it. Maybe
the end of the year owners party was at this place.
Right, that's where they held it. But
they had their end of the year pizza party.
I want you to close your eyes, and anyone that's listening right now, close your eyes if you're a fan of NFL, and just listen to this next statement and tell me the feeling that goes over your body when I say this. Okay, your eyes aren't closed. I can see you. Close your damn eyes. The 2019-2020 season the NFL is no longer ran by Roger Goodell. We have a new commissioner of the NFL. Is that not like the best, overwhelming feeling of emotion right there that would happen?
I got goosebumps.
Those girls in that parlor must be fire if a billionaire isn't able to get one to come to his house secretly.
Right.
Like, you're going to a place that's been under a sting. There's a fucking Chinese food restaurant. We talked to one of your colleagues. Well, I'm not going to say that. We'll say someone that 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 just bought a business, and he's I'm pretty sure that they're not doing everything on the up and up, and that's in Sacramento. Like, there's no billionaires going there, and that place stands out like a red thumb. Every time I've driven by that establishment, I'm like, I could probably go in there and get a hand job.
Right.
And so if you're a fucking billionaire, how are you not just like, you know what? I'm probably going to stay away from this place because it's probably not the best place for me to be.
Right.
Come to Vegas. I know high-end escorts, money back guarantee. Dude, there's low-end escorts that you can just high five on the street in Vegas.
Yep, exactly.
So anyways, other random roundup stuff before we get into Major League Baseball and before we start having you guys share this to all of your Kings group. Do you know the name Danielle Gibson?
Mm-mm.
So Danielle Gibson made history last night. She plays softball for the Arkansas Razorbacks. Okay. And I don't like the way that ESPN reported this because it says no one in MLB history has ever done this. And I know there's arguments, and Delso's online right now, and Delso's daughter has played a lot of softball, and he's coached it and been around it for a long time. So he'll be one to argue that hitting a softball from 45 feet or whatever it is that their pitcher mound is from that low travel angle is equally as difficult, if not harder, to hit than a baseball coming from 45 feet or 73 feet or whatever it is, right?
60 feet, 6 inches.
There you go. In fact, Jenny Finch has struck out Hall of Famers in the middle of their career from a softball mound distance against MLB players, and that they couldn't even foul tip her pitches. So it's difficult.
Did she strike out A-Rod? I think.
Yeah, she struck out A-Rod and like 2 other players. So Danielle Gibson last night hit for the home run cycle for the Arkansas Razorbacks. Now, not only did she hit for the cycle in the home runs, she did it in 4 straight innings on 4 straight at-bats. First inning, 2-run homer. Second inning, 3-run homer. Third inning, grand slam. Fourth inning, solo home run.
Holy shit.
4 at-bats, 4 home runs, home run cycle. Never been done in any sport level ever.
Wow.
I thought that was worth mentioning because that's pretty damn cool.
That's fucking amazing.
So TJ saw it and he was like, that's pretty neat. So
wow, that's incredible. I mean, the hardest thing in sports to do, I that's the one sport I never played, but I would have to think that one of the hardest things to do is hit a round ball with a round bat. And at any level, with somebody trying to throw it so you can't hit it. So, wow, just to do that is crazy.
Right. Pretty insane, right?
Yep.
Let's see. Do we have anything else going on in sports? Nothing really that stands out to me. I know that no one really gives a flying fuck about too much other stuff going on.
NFL Combine starts this week.
Yeah, NFL Combine starts soon, which means the NFL Draft is coming up.
Yep.
Let's see. Address in the DM. Thanks in a minute. What?
I think he wants you to share the address for this in the DM.
Oh, okay. Let me get on. I'll get on my messenger. But yeah, so let's talk Major League Baseball news real quick here, because while things have been relatively quiet on the Major League Baseball front, there was some big news coming out of the NL West, and that is that the San Diego Padres signed Manny Machado to a 10-year, $300 million deal. I had a little bit of fear about Machado coming to the NL West, but it wasn't. It's kind of weird. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to see Machado here. I don't want to see Harper here unless it's with the Giants. And I knew Machado had no shot of coming to the Giants, but I was worried that Machado going to the Dodgers or Diamondbacks would make things a lot more difficult for the Giants, who are clearly on their way down, right? Oh, that's the other thing we should have talked about. We'll get to that. Thanks, TJ. We'll get to that after this. No, we haven't even really got into it. Let's go back to the roundup. You talked about this a lot over the Kings groups and whatever. Zion Williamson, his shoe blowout, his knee gets hurt. We've talked about it in the past multiple times about paying college athletes to play. Where does college basketball go, or where does NCAA sports go from here if Zion Williamson's knee injury is a serious one, or if it's serious enough that it keeps him out of the rest of the season for Duke? Do they have to start looking into paying players? Does the NBA have to rectify their one and dones or their 2-year college players? Can they do something where a player can be drafted out of high school with guaranteed money, but then let's say the NBA allows a player like Zion Williamson to come out of high school, get drafted, but he gets his NBA style contract, but it's structured in a way that it requires him first to go to the G League for a year or whatever, and there's like an injury clause or something that he gets some kind of advancement on the money if he gets hurt at the G League level. What happened? What is going to prevent the Nick Bosa and other top player effect from NCAA football to stop coming across into basketball and other sports? Because Nick Bosa hurt his back. He was cleared, week like 3, and he's like, nope, I'm shutting it down. I'm just waiting for the draft. I'm not playing this year. Okay, Ohio State's like, well, fuck, that sucks for us, but it's your future. Zion Williamson goes down with a knee injury because his Paul George threes blew out, and Nike obviously is going to be in trouble. Not in trouble, but there's a whole nother aspect of this that's going to hit Nike here, and I'll talk about that in a second. But what does NCAA do about NBA or players that are clear projected NBA players not playing or going overseas for a year, or skipping out of college and waiting a year until they're out of college eligibility and then just joining the league? Like, what are they going to do about it?
Okay, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. This is one of those subjects that for some reason it strikes a nerve with me. So first off, Zion Williamson has a multi-million-dollar insurance policy. So if his knee blows out and he can't play, he's set for life. So that's one thing that's not getting a lot of talked about. But he has a major insurance policy that he's got covered. So one thing that the NBA could do is they could say, look, you're going to be an NBA player. You have the potential of being a first or second round draft pick. We're going to provide you with an insurance policy. You go play college. We're going to have at your availability an insurance policy that if you get hurt, you're going to be set. You're going to be fine. Second of all, I don't think that paying NBA or college players NBA salaries is going to do anything but kill sports.
Yeah.
And I figured this out. I was talking to somebody about Los Guerreros, and I had a conversation on one of the Facebook pages, and he was saying all college athletes should be paid. Well, yes and no. You're talking about football and basketball players, because you're not going to pay swimmers, you're not going to pay gymnasts, although you should. And if they do start paying players, that's going to be a huge lawsuit. The other thing is, and I have a point to this, is if you have 100 football players and 15 basketball players and 30 baseball players, the big three, and you're going to pay them because of Title IX, which is a landmark equal rights bill that was passed years ago. You're also going to have to come up with 130 spots to pay women, and it doesn't matter what sport. So any opportunity that men get, the women at that school need to have the same equal amount of access. So all of a sudden, you're going to have to come up with 130 female athletes that need to get paid. And so what's going to happen is sports like track, wrestling, swimming, water polo, gymnastics, those kind of baseball, are going to start getting cut so that there can be enough women's sports to equally pay for the money that football and basketball gets. I was
going to say, because if anyone's not following the point you're making, it's because baseball and basketball and football essentially is funding all of the other collegiate sports. The money that these come in, all those sports you mentioned that would be cut because they have to pay those players, without these two major sports, they probably don't exist anyways. So if anyone's wondering like where Greg's getting at on this, I think that's
the other part that I'm getting at is just the number of athletes that you have to pay. So if there's 130 male athletes that you have to pay, you're also going to have to come up with the money to pay 130 female athletes.
Right.
Okay. So we got in a little bit of discussion. I Googled the athletic departments that actually make money. There's like 30 in the whole United States that actually make money.
And by athletic departments, you mean college programs that actually make money, right?
Yes. There's the big ones. There's the Alabamas, there's the Florida, there's the Clemson, you name it. But you start getting down to, and it's even schools in the Big Five conferences are barely breaking even because of how little, their football teams and how much they soak up, and just the cost of being a big time college football program. I've always had one way to solve this, and it's an easy solve, and it kind of takes care of everything. So it's two parts. One, the pro sports leagues, the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, need to provide the access to insurance policies. Okay. And whether they have to buy them at a small price or whatever, the athlete should have an insurance policy. The other thing is, with the NCAA tournament alone, they're making $1 billion.
Right.
What I say is you pay the athletes just like you would pay them if they worked at the bookstore. They get the same wage for hours of practice, hours of competition, and that way they're at least making something.
Right.
You could also take the money that they're gaining from having their likenesses sold and put that into a pot and have them maybe get that after their eligibility is over with. But the big thing is take that money that you're making from the NBA or the NCAA basketball tournament, the money that you're going to make on the eventual NCAA football tournament that's going to happen, it's going to increase to 16 teams within the next 5 to 10 years. That money, can you imagine what an NCAA football tournament would make on TV?
Jesus.
It would double the amount that that basketball makes. There's money there, and you can pay them. And Joe Delso, that's why we should let kids be pros. I disagree, and I want you to think about this.
Well, no, hold on. I think that's a follow-up to his other comment that's on the screen there. How can a child actor or musician make pro money, but our athletes can't? The system sucks.
It does. But here's my answer to that. A doctor requires how much of education before they can be a doctor? Lawyer needs how much time to become a lawyer? I think there's a certain amount of education that's required in order to be a pro athlete. And
how much education are you getting when you go to school for 1 year? You're probably getting your ass wiped to the point where someone else is probably doing your homework for you. You're probably barely even in class to maintain a minimum GPA. You get that 1 year done. You're like, all right, see you later. I'm out. Like the educational thing, if that's going to be a premise of argument, then there needs to be higher requirements for these athletes.
Absolutely.
To be students first, because it's supposed to be student athlete. But let's be real. If you're a Zion Williamson, you're an athletic student is what you are. You're not a student athlete.
Right.
He probably doesn't even know where the fuck his classes are, let alone excelling in them. And I say that in a sense that a lot of the kids that are playing do have high regard to their academics and things like that. But I think in most cases, especially a one and done who is literally predicating their entire life on I'm going to be an NBA star because everyone's talking about me. I think as that popularity grows, the importance of getting their degree before they play or after they play or whatever goes out the window. And that's why there's so many players that do so well in college. They make it to the NBA and then they kind of just like flounder out, even if they make a ton of money, because it all goes to their head. Perfect example of that. It's older, but Vin Baker. You remember Vin Baker played for the Sonics, played for a bunch of teams. He was one of the higher touted college players coming out of high school. He was like, he's going to do great things. He's going to be the next, he's going to be up there with Alonzo Mourning and Patrick Ewing, and he's going to be the next big center. You know where Vin Baker works right now?
Starbucks.
10, 12 years post-removed from the league? Yeah, Starbucks.
Yeah.
Because he didn't finish his education, he can't land a job anywhere else. He fucking works at Starbucks. And by all accounts that I've read, he's broke because he blew through everything thinking that the NBA was going to be a gravy train for the rest of his life.
Yep.
And I think that if the NBA is going to expand on your idea, let's say, of providing insurance and things like that to protect them, then they also need to get into the colleges and it be a requirement that if you're a student athlete, you take a life preparedness class.
Yep,
you have someone come in, you have a guy like Vin Baker come in, and maybe you pay him more than Starbucks is paying him to come in and talk to these kids about you can't expect this to last forever. You're not going to be, most likely, you're not going to be the next Jordan or LeBron or whoever that's going to have lifetime endorsement deals that's going to pay you for the rest of your life to live comfortably. Like You need to look at this as essentially a part-time job.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I think
the average career in the NFL is what, 2.5 or 3 years? That's it.
Yeah.
And so that's a long time. That means by the time you're 25 or 26, you're now out of the league, and you need to be prepared for that. So I would say I'm one for. I think that the minimum. I think the requirement should be greater. I think you need to spend 3 years in college. I think it would help the games. I think the NBA has gone way downhill in the last 10 or 15 years, primarily because of one and dones and stuff like that. The NFL hasn't been affected. I mean, there's still the level of play is still pretty good. I think that has a lot to do with, you have to be 3 years in college before you can enter the NFL draft.
Right.
So I think that you need to educate them. You can pay them like you can the bookstore kids. The NCAA can afford that. You just kick some dollars down to every school in the NCAA, and there's
so good to see baseball highlights on TV. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, you just kick down money from the NCAA tournament, spread it around. You could pay everybody in the in the athletic department $12, $11 an hour. There's already restrictions on the number of hours they can practice, so it's not going to get out of hand. There won't be any. I'm going to go to Alabama because they're going to pay me more than I'm going to go to Cal.
Right.
So it becomes even. If you leave it open to, well, we can just pay you whatever. The Alabamas, the LSUs, the Floridas, the Clemsons, they're going to get everybody else, or they're going to get all the star players, right. Everybody. And not that they don't now, but it'll be even worse. Small sports will get eliminated quickly. You have, I think if you keep it on a level playing field, give everybody the chance. And the key thing is let these guys that are identified as freshmen and sophomore in high school, you're going to be a lottery pick after your first year. Okay, if you're identified as a potential lottery pick, then you get put into a program where the NBA says, okay, here's an insurance policy for $10 million. If you play college basketball and you blow out a knee and you can't play anymore, you can cash in on this policy. I mean, I think that takes care of everything, and I think we maintain the integrity of college sports. If not, just get rid of it and go to, like Joe Delso says, go to club teams and just do it that way.
Exactly. All right, cool. So let's do this. Let's move on. Let's real quick. We talked about Manny Machado. I said I was worried about him going to NL West. He doesn't frighten me at all going to the Padres. Bryce Harper has narrowed his teams down to 2, the Phillies and the Giants. It's looking like a contract should be completed with Phillies by Tuesday, unless the Giants start throwing in some god-awful money. And, as much as that sucks, I want to see the Giants make a big splash. I started thinking about it, and it doesn't work. I mean, the Phillies are going to be stacked, but Harper was on a stacked Nationals team that never won a World Series either. So, he's going – if he landed with an NL West team, I'd be like, damn, we have to play him 19 times a year. Right. We're going to see him, 8 times a year maybe, if not 9. Let him go to Philly. He's probably going to hate it there. Most players seem to either love it or hate it. There's not really a lot of middle ground. I still hope the Giants maybe throw in a last-minute effort, but we'll see what happens. So expect something from Bryce Harper Monday or Tuesday. I really think, though, that the Giants still have a slight chance. That's where he wants to be. If the Giants can just inch their money up, I think they're fine. They just need to make that happen. So let's hear from you real quick. We'll play your ad, and then we're going to talk about the Kings. We're going to get into Kings talk. So if you're a Kings fan and you're in any of the Facebook groups, go ahead and share share this link into those groups so we can get more people in here. We're going to TJ, my prediction for him and his team this year is that they don't win a World Series. I agree, unless it's the Giants. Let's get into some Kings talk. Ron Hoffman, Bryce will be a Philly tomorrow. Bank on it. Yeah, Monday is the expected day that it'll be announced, if not Tuesday. They're anticipating Tuesday because John Heyman and a lot of the brass, high-end writers in Major League Baseball feel that the Giants are going to make a last-second push. So it could delay things until Tuesday, but it does look like Bryce Harper will be a Philadelphia Philly. Real quick, let's do this.
If you or anyone you know is thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, they deserve to have someone working with them that not only knows what they're doing, but will explain everything that happens along the way. That person would be me, Coach Greg Baroza of Keller Williams Realty. I have 2 goals. My first goal is to coach you through the buying and selling process, making it easy to understand and as stress-free as possible, which isn't easy sometimes. My second goal is to have fun doing it. Come be a part of my team. Let me coach you or anyone you know through the real estate process. Give me a call at 916-241-8068, and let's talk about how I can coach you through the real estate process. Let me ask you one question. Who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate that I should know right now? Again, that's Greg Veroza, Keller Williams Realty, 916-241-8068.
That's right. So, Sacramento Kings.
Yep.
Kings have a chance. We're going to talk about the Kings before we get into the Kings fans, but Kings have a legitimate chance of making a playoff run. They're playing really good basketball. Right now, they are a game and a half behind the Clippers. They're only a game behind the loss column. They're a game and a half behind in the standings from the 8th seed. And they're only 2 games back of Utah for the 6th. So 6, 7, 8 is a very high possibility for the Sacramento Kings. There's a good chance that it could happen. There's a lot of hope that it will. Buddy Hield says he bets his house on it that the Kings are going to make a playoff run. And it'll definitely be exciting. If they make it to the 8th seed, I think the Kings can give them trouble. Ultimately, I think the Warriors win. Interesting quotes, though, came out of the Golden State Warriors after their game on Friday night. Klay Thompson was asked about, your feelings about playing the Kings in the playoffs. He says it'll be a lot of fun. It'd be must-see TV, but that's ultimately the team I want to play because driving up I-80 sounds amazing for a playoff series.
It does.
Draymond, after the game, was asked about it, and he says he doesn't want to play them in the playoffs because they're too damn fast. He says that he thinks that they possibly could be the fastest team in NBA history because they just don't slow down. He says he thinks it would give them trouble in the playoffs because they're not geared to run that much. And Draymond also said that he likes playing the Kings in the sense that after those games, he goes back to his bed and crashes because he's exhausted. He says it's the best night of sleep he gets throughout the entire NBA season is when he plays against the Sacramento Kings. It would be interesting. You're not going to see a DeMarcus Cousins on the floor very much in the playoffs if you're playing the Kings because DeMarcus looked dead. He could not keep up with that run and gun. It was essentially 4-on-5 most of the time that DeMarcus Cousins was on the floor. His conditioning obviously is not up to par, and that could change as the season prolongs. But DeMarcus is not fast enough to play on there. And there's a report that came out earlier today that DeMarcus they call it the honeymoon phase is over. And they're saying that you're not going to, right now you're not seeing DeMarcus close out games because he's just not in that team fit mentality. He's not fast enough. Teams are bullying him on the pick and roll because he's not quick enough to switch. And they're anticipating that if in the playoffs, you're not going to see DeMarcus Cousins closing out games. He had his minutes restriction lifted against the Kings, and he still didn't close out the game. He just couldn't stay on the floor. Against Houston and against Sacramento, he was back to his whiny ways. He was bitching about everything. And Kings fans, there's a few of them that were like, oh, if we have DeMarcus back, we're going to be good. No, fuck that. White Clips want a playoff spot. Their pick will go to Boston. Ron, their owner came out yesterday and said he doesn't give a damn about his pick. He wants his team to make the playoffs. They're making a playoff run. He said playoff spot pick be damned. We want to make the playoffs. And the Clippers would be a good playoff team. If they make the playoffs, that team is talented enough. They don't have any superstars per se, but they are deep enough that they would give teams in the West fits in the playoffs. So their owner's all on board with making it. He doesn't care about the draft pick. He knows that they have the money just to throw around and sign free agents, which I think is a sign of confidence that they could be in the running for an Anthony Davis type player. If the Kings make the 7th seed, I think that's the hardest matchup the Kings can get in the first round, and that's against Denver. They just have no answer against Denver.
Although they played them pretty good the other night, they should have won right before
they should have won. But I don't think. Hey, Thomas, we're going to get to your quote here in a minute. I don't think that with Willie Cauley-Stein, Kosta Koufos at center, you can stop Denver. You can't do it. Yeah. It's just they're too good.
Plus, it's tough going back and forth and playing at Denver. I mean,
That's you want to be a run and gun offense.
Yeah, and you're going to try to play 4 games in Denver over a 2-week stretch. That's going to be tough.
Right.
So you have to be. I mean, I think there's only a couple of teams that can beat Denver, especially if Denver has home court advantage.
Right.
Because trying to play a game 7 in Denver against that team, especially our style of basketball, I just don't see that happening at all.
Right. The Kings, I think, best chance to get out of the first round is by fighting their way up to the 6th seed, overtaking Utah and facing Oklahoma City in the playoffs. They've swept Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City doesn't seem even with
they won 3 out of 4. They didn't.
I saw this one that they swept them.
I thought they lost. They lost one game here. The last game, Oklahoma City beat them, didn't they?
I'll have to double check that, but I read today that they swept them. So
hold on.
Either way, I still feel that the Kings have the best chance of getting through to get through and hopefully get to that seed. I think that Oklahoma City would pose the not easiest. Yeah, they did win in December at SAC. So this team is poised to make a playoff run. I think they're going to. But Kings fans, man, I don't understand what the fuck is wrong with this fan base. And we've talked about it so many goddamn times. We're going to get to that, but first we want to talk about one of our sponsors here, Mr. Albert Chavez, the Mortgage King. He is based out of United Wholesale Lending. He does a great job getting funding for home purchases, refinance, cashback programs, down payment assistance, you name it. He works his ass off for it. You can call him at 916-230-1537. If you're looking to buy a house, if you're looking to refinance, if you're looking to see if it's something you might be able to do in the future, give Albert a call, 916-230-1537. Let him know that we sent you over there. And if you call him first and you haven't found a realtor yet, then you go ahead and you give our buddy Greg Varosa here a call. They'll work together and they'll get you into that home that you want to be a part of.
Absolutely.
But we're going to jump right into this because I have a feeling that this is going to take up the rest of our show here once my soundboard decides to reboot. Why it crashed, I don't fucking know. But there you go.
That sound guy's been doing pretty good the last couple of weeks. He just
he has. And now, crazy quotes from Kings fans.
Boy, that was an energetic drop.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
There we go. All right. So we're going to start off with one of our favorites. And that's Mr. Spearman. He says, you go against Buddy, you go against this fan base, fire Jaeger. That's the one we're going to start off with. And let's preface this. All of this stemmed from the end of the Warriors game. Buddy Hield's like 1 for 9 from 3. They come out of the break. Jaeger sets up a play. They're running the play. It's supposed to be a screen for Bogey in the corner for a 3. Buddy barely gets past the logo, takes this 35-foot shot, nails it, and then Jaeger gets pissed at him. And they have a heated exchange on the sideline. Kevin Durant's standing right there. They're arguing back and forth. And what basically it came out to was Jaeger called a play, Buddy ignored it, and coach's quote on the sideline was like, "Why don't you just coach the fucking team?" And the moment this started, it was like, "Oh, there it is. Everything's broken. He's going to Minnesota. Fire Coach Jaeger. He's an idiot." Da, 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 da. Well, it came out recently that after the Pistons game, when Buddy hit that game-winning shot, the ball wasn't supposed to go to him in that play either. He ran a different route on the drawn-up play to get the ball.
Really?
took it upon himself to get the ball and take the shot, and Yeager was pissed about that. After that game, Buddy owned up to it, said, you know what? I went against coach's play, yada, yada, yada. Well, he did it again. So Kings fans are jumping all over Coach Yeager, and I'll give him credit, yelling at him on the sideline during the game when the game is still going on. Not the right time to do it, but he's not wrong in doing it because a player shouldn't be putting himself above the team when there's a drawn up play. Not the right time though. And so I'll definitely give that. But for anyone that's ready to fire Coach Yeager, it's ridiculous. On that same point,
and Sammy's been on that. He's been on that rant the whole season, not just
he has.
But he's not.
The first comment on that was too bad the Kings can't fire their fans. And then my response was going against any part of a winning team is going against their fan base. It's not against a coach or a player. It's, but yeah. So yeah, Sammy has been on that kick. It's been pretty bad.
And my response to it is, name me a coach and a player on any team that hasn't had a blow up like that.
Yep.
Any good coach. I mean, I've worked with a lot. I've coached for 30 years, and I've coached Olympic level athletes all the way down to beginning level athletes. So, I can say I know what I'm talking about on this. And every single athlete that's worth their weight in gold has got into it with their coach. It just happens. You have hyper competitive people that are trying to do what they think is best, and you're going to have blowups. You can't tell me that Michael Jordan didn't have blowups with his coaches. Magic got coaches fired. That happens all the time.
LeBron gets coaches fired left and right.
Right. So, you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt. And we don't know what happens afterwards. We don't know, a lot of times in the middle of a game, you get into an argument with an athlete, and by the end of the game, it's over with. And even as far as the Warrior game the other night, yeah, Yeager got into it with Buddy Hield, but who was the last play drawn up for?
Yeah,
Buddy Hield.
It was, but if you watch that play, the ball got into Buddy Hield. If Buddy would have passed the ball, Bagley was wide open on the rim. No one was guarding him. Bogey was wide open on the wing, and Buddy dribbled, and then took a bad shot. If the initial play isn't there and you still have 8 seconds on the clock, you need to pick your head up and look around. Just because the play was drawn up for you, which was to shoot a three, if you have to dribble that much to get around it, then you should at least put your head on a little bit of a swivel to see that you had two wide open players.
And I think that's what happened is Buddy had the play drawn up for him to take a three. He dribbled, and if you look at it, he hesitates. It's not that he does anything. He's looking up. He sees Bagley open, and I think what goes through his head is, hell no, I'm doing the play that was called because I just got my ass chewed out for trying to do something else. And then he takes a couple more dribbles and throws up a crappy shot.
Right. And then what's funny to me too is he hesitates at that 30-footer again, right? Or 35-footer, whatever you want to call it. And Kings fans were like, oh, he should have shot that. Coach got in his head. There was 8 seconds left on the clock. You don't need to shoot a 35-footer to try to win the game. No. Dribbling the ball in that place was right. But Kings fans to say that Coach got in his head and that's why he hesitated. Someone made a comment, I don't remember who it was on one of the fan posts, was like, you got to be out of your fucking mind. And I'm paraphrasing, but you got to be out of your mind to want Buddy to shoot a 35-footer to win the game just because he made the last one. That's not 100% shot. Just because he's 1 for 1, that would have been the worst shot he could have taken in that situation. But Kings fans were like, oh, if he would have shot it, we would have won. And it's Coach's fault because he yelled at him. That's why he hesitated and this and that. Shut up. And like TJ said a minute ago, if this team won 50 games, there'd still be people bitching about it that they didn't win 52.
And hold on, one more thing on that though. As being an athlete, and I was nowhere near a professional level athlete. I was a college swimmer. I've worked with my share of athletes, and I've yelled at my share of athletes, and I've gotten in their face, and we've gotten into arguments on the pool deck during games when I'm coaching water polo. Yet those athletes, in kind of a strange way, appreciate that you're getting on them, that it shows that you care. You're not making it personal. I'm upset with you right now at something that you did. I'm not upset I'm not upset at you as a person. I don't hate you. I don't dislike you. I'm really pissed off at you because you did something that you weren't supposed to do. And that's the understanding that good coaches have with good players, that people who haven't been around athletes and haven't been around coaches don't understand. You can say what you can yell and yell and yell at me. As long as you aren't saying anything personal, I'm not going to take it anything other than, okay, I fucked up. I'm just not going to do that again.
Yeah, Kurt Weiss says people bitch about Adelman all the time too. Adelman and players got into heated discussions all the time. And I think that, honestly, Buddy standing up to coach the way he did is going to be good for the Buddy Hield-Dave Joerger relationship, because it shows Buddy that he cares. He wants to win these games. Absolutely. He's not just mailing it in. And TJ
it shows that Joerger cares, because he's not letting him get away with it.
Which goes right into our next fan post here in a second. But TJ hit the nail on the head. If Buddy shoots that ball that he hesitated on, right, at 7 seconds, that leaves maybe 5 or 4.5 seconds once the ball goes through the net. We were playing the fucking Warriors. If any team has enough 3-point shooting or shooting to kill us with 4 seconds left, it's the Warriors. You need Buddy to dribble that around and milk more time. Anything more than 0.8 is too much time for the Warriors, especially Steph, to just catch and shoot a ball from anywhere and probably make the damn thing.
And him shooting a 35-footer is almost 100%.
Exactly. He's almost better at 35-footers than he is the corner three. Right. This one came from our other buddy, Cyrus. Hearing rumors about Joerger wanting to go to Minnesota as well after how D'Alessandro fired Malone and both somehow ended up in Denver. I find Joerger's decision-making in all these blown games largely due to his decisions to be very suspect, and I question if he has been trying to throw games all season. Joerger has come out publicly and said he's focused on this team. He wants to continue to play. If Joerger really wanted out of Sacramento, he wouldn't have changed his coaching style to best fit this team. He would have still done the slow Memphis style offense. He wouldn't have adapted. He wouldn't have done anything to try to win. This team would be a 15-win team right now if Joerger wanted out. Joerger wants to win. They extended his coaching staff. I strongly believe that Vlade is going to try to extend Coach Joerger after the season is over. And this team cannot afford to pay any more fucking coaches. And I know Joerger's on the last year of his deal, but you got to knock this shit off about trying to get a new coach in here. You're going to have to start the clock all over again if you bring in a new coach.
Yeah, you're going to take 2 or 3 steps backwards if you fire him right now. This team needs stability. This team needs a coach here for 7 or 8 years to bring some stability to itself. We don't need – how many coaches have we had in the last 10 years? Like 17?
Something like that.
Some weird – we don't need that.
Right.
You got a core group of people that you have 6 legitimate potential star players on this team. And – to stop and bring in somebody else, and I've heard names like Mark Jackson. I've heard other people.
I have a quote later on this morning on this segment here that you're going to laugh at when a suggested coach comes up. This one came through. It says, this situation has been a long time coming. Last night, perfect example of Yogurt. So this is obviously Sammy Spearman because he calls him Yogurt. Trying to limit Buddy and hating on him. Now everyone sees it. It's a screen grab of a Twitter article by the Bob Nightingale of the NBA, and that's Marcus Bertone. That argument between Buddy Hield and Dave Joerger last night made me wonder if Joerger is the long-term coach for this team. The coach getting an argument with the best shooter at crunch time was not good at all. You can't take anything Marcus Bertone says with any type of value. That dude has been on his own agenda. He's the male Eileen Voisin.
Oh, no, at least Eileen Voisin didn't downplay the Kings and say how bad they were. And
yeah, but once either one of them starts with any type of dispute with anybody, it becomes a personal vendetta against that group of people.
Right.
It's always negative. There's never a positive lining. You'll never see anything good come from it. And by the way, with Durant standing there and then talking to Jaeger and laughing with them and Buddy laughing with them after that heated exchange that was so bad, it just adds more fuel to the fire that I think Durant secretly I think the Kings have a chance of really courting Durant. Durant seems to be drawn to Coach Jaeger and Buddy Hield in this team more and more. Like I was watching the game and there was probably 6 or 7 times during that game that during free throws and whatever that was going on or reviews or whatever, that Jaeger and Durant were standing on the sideline talking to each other. And I think that exchange is a positive sign that, you know what, maybe if you extend him and you bring in a guy like Durant, it could work out. Let's see. We already did that one. Let's see here. This one we're going to get to in a second. Thomas Roybal is the guy I wanted. I'm glad he's on because we wanted to go over that. This one here, Bogey is my guy, but he shouldn't be starting over Bagley. It's like Jaeger got something against him or something. I'll never understand that. That's another thing that's going on is a lot of people think that Coach Jaeger has this hatred for Marvin Bagley. That's why he's not starting him. Yet he's playing him more minutes than any other big on the team coming off the bench. And he's finishing games, so he must hate him because he doesn't get a start in his stat line, which makes no goddamn sense to me.
I don't remember who it was I got into. We were talking about Bagley starting, and he said I think it was after the Warrior game. Yeah, it was after the Warrior game. And he said if Bagley had started, we would have won the game. And I said, my comment was, weren't we up in the first quarter? Weren't we up for most of the game? And they came back in the fourth quarter.
Right.
So you don't win a game in the first quarter. You just don't. You just don't. It never happens.
So I hope Thomas is still on. Let me see if I can see who the viewers are here because I believe he is. But let's see. It was also reported that Durant was coaching Bagley during the game on how to do better. He was, and he was giving him advice on. From one of the things I heard that someone overheard was he was giving him advice on how to zone out the crowd during free throws in crunch time. Okay, that's fantastic. Why are you telling the other team that unless you have some sort of respect for the kid? This one was
and the Warriors had nothing but great things to say about the Kings. And we talked about this earlier, is after the game they said nothing but great things about this team.
Right, and they have them worried. I mean, they've barely beat them every game this year. I mean, it's been tough. Thomas, this was like the quote of the weekend, and I grabbed it and I mentioned to him. I said, "Hey, you need to make sure you listen to the show this weekend because we're going to give you props for this one." So here it is. He says, "I don't know what's crazier, your irrational hatred for Jaeger or the 2 or 3 people co-signing the shipwrecks you masquerade as suggestions. None of your conjecture is based off tangible evidence like data, interviews, analysis. You substantiate your ridiculous ideas with anecdotes from your high school days. It's time to start living in the present and let Jaeger do his job instead of gaslighting this ridiculous notion of firing yet another coach." That right there is probably the best quote I think I've ever heard from a Kings fan. And one of my thoughts on that too was he used a lot of fucking intelligent words. I'm like, this dude's not a Kings fan. And then it turns out someone else made a comment that he's super smart and he's an elementary school teacher. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Dude knows his stuff. That right there epitomizes everything that goes with. Yeah, Thomas uses 4 syllables. It's amazing that there are still good Kings fans out there that see it that way. So Thomas, props to you. That's the quote of the year for sure. I read that one already. This one from a guy named Michael. This was after the game winner in Detroit. It's an ongoing thing. Buddy doesn't execute the plays. That's why he's getting yelled at. Make or miss, the coach wants you to run his plays, and you're not going to listen on the first 40-footer Why the hell are you going to listen on the second? Stop blaming everything on the coach. Buddy has to take some responsibility for that last play as well. And then the next comment on that was, Jaeger's just trash. Shut the fuck up.
And I've commented on those guys' things before. It's like, okay, you want those guys fired? Give me a solution. Who do you want to bring in? What do you want to do? And they never do it. They don't have anything.
You are right. You must have like a link to my phone because that's the very next thing that's coming up here. This one talks about firing the coach. And there's a chain of comments on this one of smart Kings fans. So we're going to go over this one's here. So it says, this first comment, for Christ's sake, stop trying to be a coach and enjoy sweeping. This is where I got the sweeping OKC from. Sweeping OKC and playing, being in line for a playoff position while still playing well. Fuck, you guys want to criticize the coach for what you feel is wrong, fine, but stop being a complete ass by calling for his job. Next comment, Jesus H. Christ, Dave holds players accountable, so sue him. He runs sets out of the half court, something most coaches won't dare touch. Most importantly, he overhauled his whole coaching style to allow this team to succeed with the defense last mentality. He has faith in us, so let's have some faith in him. Bunch of ungrateful losers. And then this guy says, for everybody screaming, we need to fire coach, you could scream all you want, but at the end of the day, who would you replace Jaeger with? The next guy is Republican. Those who bitch the loudest don't have solutions. And then that one I said about the suggested coach that's going to make you laugh. This guy says, I still vote for Red Auerbach, but I bet we won't even call him. What a loser organization. And then the last one that we'll get to, because I think this is the most fucking ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. Thomas, you're very welcome. I appreciate it. We appreciate the follow. Hopefully we'll see you on here more often. This guy, again, from the Kingdom, if only we had DeMarcus Cousins and the rest of our starting four would land as deep in the playoffs. Thoughts? And Keith, okay, hold on. So Keith, Keith has had, Keith, you know we love you to death, and I take great appreciation for the passion you have for this team. You have been overly dramatic at times, and you've admitted to it, to having a hot take in the heat of the moment, and then kind of coming back and recanting on some of it after you've listened to your own take, and you're like, okay, you know what, I might have been a little off kilter. So for Keith to come out and say that Breton was being way too dramatic with that take speaks volumes. Keith is one of the most passionate guys that are in all the groups, and you know, I think Keith is as guilty as all of us that when you're in the heat of the moment, you speak out of your ass as opposed to out of your mouth. And unlike most Kings fans, though, Keith will actually come out and be like, "Hey, you know what? I kind of spoke out of line. Here's how I really feel. I let it rest in my head for a little bit. It's not as terrible as I thought it was. You know, let's loosen the noose a little bit. We're going to be fine." Marcus Bertone, like I said, he's the Bob Nightingale of the NBA. He posts shit just to get a rise out of people, whether he believes it or not. And unfortunately, most of the time, I feel like he believes it. It's not just a like shock jock post. It is a true, I'm just an idiot. Kurt Weiss says, I think the catch is a lot of Kings fans never even heard of the coach until he got here. He did take Memphis to the playoffs in the final year with 20 different starting lineups. Educate yourselves. I knew a lot about Dave Yeager before he came here because Memphis was a team that you couldn't fucking beat.
Right.
Yeager had that team of veterans. It didn't matter if you're a fast team or a slow team. When you get to Memphis, you're like, well, let's chalk this up for a loss. You had Gasol, you had Randolph, you had Conley, you had Tony Allen playing deep. Their starting lineup was damn near unstoppable. You had Chandler Parsons in there. He had that team playing amazing. So I was extremely happy with it. Wait, are these follow-ups you're talking about? Let's see. Keith says, yeah, but the idea that Jaeger was doing the most is dumb. He and Buddy were both wrong in a sense, but Jaeger is the perfect coach. Anyone who doesn't like Jaeger doesn't understand basketball. I agree with that 100%. Yep. And you don't even have to like Jaeger, but like I said earlier, if you think that Jaeger's tanking and trying to get out of here so he could go take the Minnesota job, this wouldn't be a 31-28 team. This would be a 13-win team who wouldn't have adapted. And Kurt, I totally get what you're saying. Most Kings fans and most NBA fans in general, they know the hot name coach. They don't care about the up and coming coach. They don't care about, the next great thing. They want the current great thing. Everyone wants Popovich. Everybody wants Kerr, or, at the time Spoelstra was the hot deal with LeBron, or they want, D'Antoni for whatever fucking reason, even though he's not doing anything, but he's a name that you recognize. Fire everyone. We should be 3-1. Exactly, Dave. I think we should hire Carmichael Dave as the Kings coach.
Yeah. No, Carmichael Dave would be the GM. He would make a great GM.
Yeah, good GM. He'd go through the stadium and throw away like Laker gear. He'd rip it off of people while they're there. Dave, that video you posted with your sister's Lakers gear was gold the other night. And you got a shout out of Lance Woods' new video after the game last night as well. He clipped you into there, so good job. And Dave, we appreciate you hopping on and giving your take. If anyone's ever followed this, it's when Dave was off of 1140 and doing his own CD network that we started this podcast because Dave was wearing those Hello Kitty headphones, and it really spoke to me. You guys want Luke Walton because that's what you'll get. Yeah, the Kings fire another coach, and you're not going to get an A, B, or C level coach. No one's going to want to come here because it's just going to be wasted time. You have to have stability for this team to continue to grow. But if you want to bring in any respectable free agent, you have to have stability. You can't keep a coaching carousel going. No one's going to want to come here because it's just going to go right back to the laughing stock of the NBA. And the Kings have finally dug themselves out of that Cleveland Brown moniker. And, the NBA is taking notice. Again, go look at the quotes of the Warriors after the game this last week. There was nothing but praise. And I still feel like, players like Durant and other top free agents are taking notice of what's going on here. And while I don't know that, it's a high probability that a guy like Durant would ever consider signing here, but I think a guy like Durant at least takes a phone call. I mean, before they probably had Vlade and everyone else's number blocked. I'm sure that they're at least love you guys, but love Sheena more. Have a good Sunday. No, I agree with you on that one. I'm not gonna. Everybody loves my wife more, without a doubt. But yeah, I mean, you're not. The Kings are definitely getting to the point where their number's off the do not call list, and it's getting to that point. Thomas says firing another coach hits the reset button on our progress and takes all the culture we built, walks through the nearest trash can and drops it to the bottom. Exactly. Someone said, I saw a quote last night after the OKC game that Tyronn Lue is available. Jesus. I saw a quote after the game last night at OKC that media was outside in the tunnel or in the locker room tunnels, and they could hear the Kings celebrating in the locker room after the win. So they were amped up after the win, and there was something that they said. It was like together, they were like, they all brought it together for a huddle or whatever, right?
They put their hands in. It was 1, 2, 3 family.
Well, there was something before that, yeah, and then it was family on 3, 1, 2, 3 family, and this team, while the players obviously have a lot to do with that, you have to give Jaeger credit for allowing these guys to play the way they want to play in order to build that chemistry. And everyone was like, oh, well, once Shumpert's gone and it's not going to happen. And Willie Cauley-Stein, followed that up with now that Shump's gone, it's gone forever and whatever. This team is built around De'Aaron Fox, and it's as De'Aaron goes, this team goes. And I think that Jaeger is a big possibility of that, or a big reason to think that, honestly. I literally do not understand calling for the head of a coach during the best, fun, exciting season squad that we've had in years. Get the fuck out of here. Sarah, absolutely. Yeah. You cannot just keep turning things over like this.
No, I mean, and look at the stability that we've grown in the last couple of years. And I think that there's two people that are directly responsible, and they're the two people that get the most crap thrown at them on a daily basis. And that's Vlade and Jaeger.
Right.
And Vlade from the front office has completely changed the culture. How many quotes have you heard from Vivek this year?
Maybe 2, and I don't even think they were about the Kings. I think they were about they were from All-Star Weekend when he was talking in front of the like technology board that they had in front of everybody. Like, I don't think I've seen Vivek even barely at games.
No, he's at games. He's at games, but you
don't see it. You don't see him. Like, he's not like demanding screen time. He's quietly there. He's not parading, B-list and C-list celebrities to sit courtside. So there's a look at him moment. He's just there with his family. He's there by himself. He's there with another owner. And then when the game ends, he just slowly just disappears. He fades into the background. He's not he's not that Vivek that we knew from a season ago.
And look at the difference in this team. And then you throw in, the job that Vlade did building this team. We crushed New Orleans on the DeMarcus trade. We crushed them. We crushed everybody on pretty much every move that he's made after the Philadelphia trade. From the Philadelphia trade on, he has crushed everybody. So,
but let me ask this real quick though. Did that Philadelphia trade really hurt us that bad? Because didn't we get Bagley in that trade in that year? No, we got Bagley the second pick. Who did we get that year when we had to switch? We got De'Aaron Fox, right?
Or did we get Giles?
No, Giles came in a trade. We didn't draft Giles. We traded for Giles' rights. He came in with a trade pick. Who did we get when we had to switch? Oh, Jesus Christ, Sarah. Fuck, that was embarrassing. TJ, when we had the pick swap, who was it? Was it De'Aaron Fox that we switched from 2 to 5?
I don't remember.
TJ will tell us. Thomas says +1 for stability, can't grow without it. Without Vivek, Seattle would have the Sonics, which they still should have the Sonics. I think the Pelicans need to move to New Orleans or move out of New Orleans because that's a Saint city that has nothing to do with basketball. Vlade did a good job collecting talent, purging the locker room culture from the Cousins era, and Jaeger has done an amazing job developing the youth. Without Jaeger, the sum of our parts is less than the whole, but it's definitely a team effort from our front office. Well said. It was Fox, yeah. So we got De'Aaron Fox. When Philly took... It wasn't Markelle Fultz, was it? Is that the year that... God damn.
Fultz went first.
Hold on.
So anyway, so while you're looking that up, the other part of that is Jaeger, and I heard this, and I've said this before. I've heard you don't judge a coach by his system. You judge a coach by how he deals with the players and changing his system to fit the players that he has. And the first time I heard of somebody doing that, and an example was Don Shula of the Dolphins. And I've said this before, that in the early 70s, the Dolphins went undefeated, and I think their quarterbacks averaged about 10 or 11 passes a game. It was all running. They had 3 1,000-yard rushers on their team.
I have it. Here we go.
By the end of his career, he had Dan Marino, who was throwing 50 passes a game, and they were winning. So that's how I judge a good coach, is not how he tries to enforce his system on the players that he has, but takes the players that he has and puts them in a system where they're going to flourish. And that's what he's done. And, if we're, like you said, if we're still playing the slow down game, we have 15 wins.
So here's what happened. And I'm going to go ahead and put it out there that everyone wants to give Vlade shit for that pick swap, right? That the Stauskas trade, and we gave up whatever we gave up to get the pick swap, and I don't even remember what the trade was. But that year the Kings got 3, and we traded the number 10 pick and Justin Jackson, and we got Harry Giles and all that from that 10 pick.
Okay.
The Kings got 3, Philly got 5. Those two swapped. Philly then traded fucking everything to Boston to move up to 1 in that draft. So the Kings took Fox at 5. Josh Jackson at 4 went to Phoenix. Boston used that trade with Philly to get Jason Tatum, who's turned out to be a very good player.
Right.
Lonzo Ball was taken 2nd, but Philly took Markelle Fultz, who's not even in their organization anymore, with the number 1 overall pick. So you could even say that Vlade won that trade with Philly as well, taking De'Aaron Fox. When Markelle Fultz turned out to be a complete bust in Philly, they shipped him off to Orlando, I believe it was, in this trade, because he refused to play there anymore. So while it looked bad on paper, and in the moment it was like, fuck, we move up to 3 and then we get screwed back to 5. I would take De'Aaron Fox over Josh Jackson, Jason Tatum, Lonzo Ball, or Markelle Fultz any day of the week.
And
so wasn't won that trade as well?
Wasn't the other part of that trade that we gave up this year's number 1 pick too? Was that trade?
No, that was a different trade, I believe.
Or that was a Chicago trade, I think, maybe.
I don't know. That Chicago.
But anyway, he got crucified for that too, of losing this pick. But I've said again, this is something that's not new. We don't need a first round pick this year. We need to sign a maybe one more experienced free agent. But we need to keep this team together as much as possible and move forward. And
I guess I didn't have to do all that research because Adrian put it out there for me like 3 minutes ago. I could have just looked up. Sorry about that, Adrian. You were absolutely right, though.
This team doesn't need. So I'm fine with not having a first round pick this year. I'm absolutely fine with it. I don't think it's. I don't think it was that big of a deal at all. So
yeah, and Charlie and Kurt are getting into semantics now in the chat box. Basically, Kurt says he was selected by Portland, and Charlie comes in and says it's a technicality. It was a Kings pick, but he was selected by Portland for. Yeah, you trade the rights, and the team that's in the pick still picks it via the trade. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It was the Kings picks. In a situation like that, when you trade draft picks and you trade the rights to that draft pick, you call Portland and say, hey, look, we're going to trade you this pick for the rights to your pick. You're drafting this player for us. So it was the Kings pick, regardless if Portland ended up taking him or not. Got a sports show that don't know shit. Okay, I don't know who you are, Rock Bang, but appreciate that. Same with Shump. Trade at the beginning, it was like, what the fuck? But by the end of the night, we had Barnes and Burks. Yeah, Burks isn't playing out too well, but I think Barnes will be just fine. We do need first round pick. No, we don't. The Kings don't need another first round. This team cannot afford to get any younger. No. This team needs to get older and more veteran savvy. Another first round pick helps none at all at this point. Draft Zion Williamson sneakers. All good, and Ball wasn't even worth mentioning. Fox is, well, in this situation, yeah, Fox is 2 times greater than Ball. I take that for sure. The chemistry of this team was a huge value. Keep it together. Looking back at all those trades from the Stauskas one to the Cousins trade, they all look bad on paper, but paid off for us in the end. If this shows anything, it shows that Kings fans need to trust Vlade and be patient. Yeah. Patient is the word of the franchise. Everybody needs to be patient. I mean, yeah. Vlade would not have put a self-imposed clock on his tenure as the Sacramento Kings if he didn't feel confident in what he was building. Now, a lot of it probably has to do with Scott Perry helping him out, and I'm sure Brad Williams has a little bit around, to do with it. But Vlade is ultimately the one that told Vivek to be quiet. He told the other owners to be quiet. Let me do my job. Thomas, first rounder would be nice, but developing existing players, winning games, and showing the NBA that we're capable of organization before one of the biggest free agency markets is much more important. Absolutely. This upcoming draft class is not that good past the 6th pick, and at this rate, the Kings will be in the top 6 anyways, and get Shump back this summer. Philly had the process, we have the patience. Absolutely, Joe. We need to coin that. We should put that on a shirt. Philly trusted the process. Sacramento trust patience or has patience. I like that. Fox, Healed, Bagley will be better trio in 2 or 3 years than Curry, Thompson, Durant. No.
I don't think so.
I think they'll be in a conversation with them, and they'll be able to really help fuel the games between those two teams, assuming Durant leave. I mean, Durant's not going to be there.
And assuming Thompson stays too.
Yeah, Thompson may be gone too. How about this? What if it was Fox, Healed, Durant better than the Warriors 3 in the next couple of years? I might give you that one. No, but I think the big three in Golden State dissolves after this year. They're going to keep, they'll probably keep Green. They'll probably try to keep Clay. I don't think Durant stays. I think Durant, I for some reason I've been hearing so much more about Kyrie Irving and him wanting to go to New York together. I could see that happening, but it'd be dope if like I said, I don't even if Durant doesn't sign here, which with the love affair he's had, I don't rule it out. But
with the cap space that we have, we have cap space too.
If he answers the phone and even talks to Vlade, I think that is, and Joe's been mentioning moral victories left and right. We don't need moral victories. We need W's. In the offseason, if Durant or another major free agent at least has a conversation with us, I think that's a moral victory because it shows we're turning the corner. Yeah. And the Kings can offer Durant more money than anybody except the Golden State Warriors. So if he does like the situation here and he likes the players and he continues to build, this what's the word? It's admirable. I want to say admirosity. That's not a word.
The respect,
admiration. Haha, found it. Admiration for Jaeger and the team and respect. Then the Kings' money. I mean, he's already been in California, so it's not like the tax hit's going to hurt him. He's not coming from Texas to California where you go from no income tax to a ton. He's already been here. He knows it. The money may not be as bad, or it may be worth it to not go to New York or somewhere and have like all this immense pressure on him. What vet do you think we need? A vet that plays or a locker room guy? Definitely a vet that plays. Don't talk about KD to sack without bringing Harrison Barnes in the conversation. If Kevin Durant gives Sacramento a chance, Harrison Barnes is tradable or cuttable. I mean, yeah, he has a $4 million player option, but even with that $24 million player option, I believe the Kings still have enough money to offer Durant a max deal.
I think so.
Imagine Fox, Buddy, Barnes, KD, and Bagley in a starting lineup. Holy shit, that would be amazing. Yeah, you play Barnes at the 3, KD at the 4, and Bagley at the 5. Okay, like who would? And you know what? And let me go ahead and put this on record. If that were to happen, if Joe predicts that right, Sammy Spearman and Cyrus would still complain about something. I think Buddy Hield will be because of the way he has been developing, but it will take a while for Fox and Bagley to develop and grow a little bit more. I think they're going to extend Buddy over the offseason as well. Now that we have positions in NBA basketball, what would you guys think about signing Julius Randle? No, fuck Julius Randle. He's trash. That is if we don't sign a KD. As a Kings fan, did I just say that? I wouldn't want Randle at all. There's other centers I think that could come in and play a much better role at the 5 than Randle over Willie Cauley-Stein.
Because I thought Willie Cauley-Stein played all right last night.
Yeah, he took that charge at the end. Without him, we lose that game.
Right. So do you think that he's trying to play his way back onto the Kings for this after the summer or after the season? And would you consider re-signing him? Not at the numbers he wants, but at a lower number, a $9 or $10 million a year. Would you re-sign him?
If my choices were Willie Cauley-Stein or Julius Randle, I go and fucking I pay for Willie Cauley-Stein to go down to Robert Kraft's salon and get a massage. I mean, he can stay as long as he wants at that point. This team is fast, stretches the floor, and versatile on defense. Yeah, we definitely don't want to break that up. Willie fits that mold if he can just get his head right.
He does. I think I see a new Willie Cauley-Stein after this trade. He came out and bitched about it, but ever since he's been playing pretty well. He's been playing.
Reality struck on the break that was like, fuck, that could have been me. I could have been out of here.
Right. And defensively, this team is pretty good. You mentioned that earlier. It's a defense last mentality, and I don't think that's right.
Hey, I just read that off a quote. I didn't say that. That wasn't my quote.
I think this team is as defensively has stepped up almost as much as they have offensively.
Yeah, the defense is driven by the fact that this team wants to run, and if they can get stops, they can run. You can't be the run and gun team they want to be after a made basket. I mean, they can be, but it's not as effective. So they know that they need to play defense in order to be the team that they want to be, and I think that's just coming with the maturation process of this team. Yep. The better they get, the more they win. The older they're getting, they're realizing like, hey, we can just play a little bit of defense, and I think Harrison Barnes coming in helps with that. Because Barnes' offensive stats have been a joke, but he's been doing a lot of things on defense that haven't been measured. And before we finish here, because we're a little bit over our normal time slot, and the Shark Talk guys are coming on at 11.
Cool.
I'm going to make a bold proclamation that if the Kings make it to even the 8th seed, even if they get swept in the first round, Vlade Divac will be general manager of the year in the NBA this year.
Okay.
Kurt Wise, White, Noah, and Randall, he can handle the ball, run with this team, shoot the three, be a post presence, play good D, and has some dog in him. He's 2010 this year. Oh, there's Sammy, right on cue. Since day one, their defense has been the key. They just needed to learn how to do it for 48 minutes. That's right. I'm not a big fan of Julius Randle. I've seen enough of him to be. He's having a good year right now in New Orleans, but I don't see him as a long term. He's a Willie Cauley sign to me. He's very, very shaky. He's not as consistent. Yeah, he's 20-10, but right now there's really not anyone else on that team except for Anthony Davis to really. I mean, they have players, but I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of Julius Randle's game, and I think he's a very, very me first type player, unfortunately. And that's just my personal opinion. I haven't watched a ton of games, but what I have seen from him, I'm just not a big fan of his game. I think there's other players that fit better than a Julius Randle. Now, if you get him for the right price, and that's one of the only really good options, then I'm sure he'd be fine. It's just he wouldn't be my first personal preference. But now, what were you saying about the GM? I said Vlade.
Oh, and I think that Jaeger's in the top 3 for Coach of the Year at the end of the season.
Absolutely.
So,
Sammy, hold on, real quick. Sammy, I got a question for you. So you say fire Jaeger, respect Buddy. Why doesn't Jaeger deserve respect when it's been reported and it's been admitted by Buddy Hield that on multiple occasions this year, Buddy has ignored the play calls that Jaeger has made and going out on his own fruition and running the play that he wants to play and then publicly coming out and admitting it? Why doesn't the coach garner the same respect that you feel that Buddy Hield should get for making a 35-foot three? Why isn't that a give and take relationship? Why does coach have to give respect to a player who ultimately made a bonehead play? He made it, but it was still a bonehead shot. Why does he get respect, but a coach who's paid to coach this team doesn't get the respect of his players to call the plays that he drew up? Because Jaeger is one of the best, if not the best coach out of a timeout drawing up plays in this league, without a doubt. And someone said it earlier that Jaeger is still willing to draw up half-court sets out of timeouts, which a lot of coaches won't do. It's a dying breed. Why doesn't that coach deserve respect from a player to completely disregard anything that he drew up at a timeout?
And even after getting on Buddy for taking that 40-foot shot, he came back and drew the play up at the end of the game for him. So
right.
I think he
punished him. He didn't punish him. He aired his grievance and then still gave him the respect that you say he needs by drawing up the final play for that player. I'll give you that. That part, I mentioned that earlier. Screaming at him during the moment.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit. No, I don't agree with that at all.
It could have been handled a little bit differently.
No. It's not. That's the everybody gets a trophy mentality. You don't want to hurt their feelings. You don't want to bullshit. The guy's a professional. The coach was pissed off. It's I said this to somebody else the other day. Can't you and your significant other get into a fight and at the moment you're pissed off at each other, but there's still love and respect there? That's what's going on. If
Kurt Weiss just hit the nail on the head. So when you finish that thought, read his.
You can yell at a player. He's a professional. He can take it. He's a big boy. The coach needs to make a point, and if it takes embarrassing Buddy and yelling at him in front of the crowd, and I don't think those two even think about that. They're going to talk about it afterwards.
You get a participation award. Exactly, Joe. Buddy's not an AAU player. Treat him like a pro.
If he acts like a pro.
Yeah, act like a pro. Because the thing is, AAU players are part of the problem with professional sports right now is because they're coddled from the start of basketball.
Yeah, I say, could it have been handled better? Yes. Yelling at a player on the sidelines is no big deal because I guarantee you they went back afterwards and said, okay, we good? Yes, we're good. Quit coddling these guys. They're fucking professionals.
And we never said Jaeger was Pop, Sammy. We said that Pop does it all the time and no one bats an eye at him. He did it to his superstars. It's a matter of coaching. You say you got to respect Buddy. Well, he needs to respect the coach by running the plays that were called for him.
That's absolutely right.
It's got to go both ways. And Charlie said, that was not a bonehead shot. That shot was necessary. There's never a time when a 35-footer with 15 whatever seconds it was left on the clock was necessary. They didn't need a 3 at that point. They needed a shot. They could have easily went in and hit a 2 or taken a better 3 that had a better chance to go in. Yeah, he made it. You brushed it under the rug. No big deal. But it needed to be said. There's a reason they draw up plays. Joe says he didn't slander him. He didn't attack him personally.
Exactly. And that's the key thing.
What I'm guessing the DC stands for.
You can yell at a player. You can do whatever you want as long as it's not personal. Because, again, it's I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad. I don't hate you. I'm mad at you. And I'll get over it, but there's still that respect there. So,
and like I think that is going to help the relationship with Buddy and Jaeger going forward because it shows that they both care about the team. Let's see. Thomas says, coach is greater than player, making a complete non-issue into a mountain. We did the same thing for Cousins, which killed our locker room and made us a free agent non-destination despite having alleged top 15 player and the number 1 center in the league. Yep. No one ever got on Cousins, and they knew that he could walk all over everybody. Look how that got him. Kurt Weiss, at Tim Duncan's retirement ceremony, Pop thanked him for allowing him to get in his shit because it set the tone for how Pop could yell at the rest of the team.
Yep.
And then Sammy says, Pop got rings. Players respect that. Okay. You know how Pop got rings is by being a badass on the sideline and demanding the respect from his players. You think if Sean Elliott on those early Spurs championship teams would have ran a play, or Manu Ginobili even, or Tony Parker, any of those guys, if Pop would have drawn up a play with 15 seconds to go and one of those guys threw up a 35-foot desperation 3, even if it went in, you think that the very next play they would draw up a play for that player? No, he'd be on the bench. Down 6 with 20 seconds left, best free throw shooting in the team, a quick 3 was needed. Okay, but not a 35-footer. That's basically handing the ball. I mean, yeah, it went in. So I know that it went in. Okay, but there's probably like a 15% chance of that shot going in. That's like just handing the ball to Durant and say, hey, go shoot 2 free throws.
Yep. Who would you say, so with all this talk, who off the top of your head are the 2 best coaches in the 2 major sports? Who's the best football coach out there?
Belichick.
Okay, and Pop's the best basketball coach, right?
Yep.
Pretty much hands down. Okay, how does Belichick treat Brady? Does he coddle him and give him orange slices after the game, or does he get in his shit? And he gets in his shit quite often. So the best coaches are assholes. The best coaches in any sport are usually assholes. They don't take shit because what they're doing is holding their players accountable. And that's what Jaeger's been doing, is holding Buddy accountable. And if you guys don't like that, like we said, you're going to end up with Cousins all over again.
And I don't care that Damian Lillard and a few other players voiced their opinion. In the heat of the moment, it doesn't look good. I'll give you that. But it's without knowing the context of what was being said and what was going. Nagy is the best. Okay. Meaning he took a normal shot attempt, blah, 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 blah. Desperation. It was not a desperation 3. It was a long 3. 35 feet from the logo is not a desperation 3. Charlie, get the hell out of here, dude. You're out of your mind. There were other 3s that could have been taken with another dribble or 2 that would have been much better shot than shooting it from the damn logo. To sure shit up, Joakim Noah and Pat Beverly do the same thing. Nagy's not an asshole. Who's he talking about? Chad and Nolan are like, you guys wrapping up soon? The guy that think the strongest shit want players to be babied. That's exactly what it is. They want everyone. They wanted, and if they would have missed that shot, they would have been upset that Jaeger didn't go over and pat him on the back and go, it's okay, buddy, and you'll get the next one. Double Doink says otherwise. Buddy pulled another 35-footer last night with 35 seconds going half one. This is way too early for a 2-for-1. That was Buddy's first instead of team first. Buddy has moments like this from time to time. You never see any Warriors have those moments. I mean, Curry does it, but Curry's a star that's allowed to do it. Nagy's a top coach. Greg, give me a break. Coach of the Bears. No, he's not a top coach.
God, no.
Good Lord. Pull your head out of your ass, dude. There's no he's a good coach, but he's definitely not a top coach.
Let's see if he lasts 3 years with the Bears.
Yeah, let's see how they do in the playoffs when they have one of the best defenses. Oh, that's right. They got their asses kicked. So what you're saying is Buddy did the right thing by dribbling it on the last play. No, we talked about that earlier. I feel like Buddy, when he started dribbling and realized that there wasn't a shot there, should have looked around because he had two guys wide open. But we also mentioned too that he needs to dribble because if you make that shot with 5 seconds left or 4 seconds left, that gives the Warrior shooters way too much time. So he needed to dribble around, but unfortunately, when Buddy starts dribbling, and this is one of the biggest things against him, Buddy starts dribbling, he goes into tunnel vision. And when he goes into tunnel vision, he doesn't see any. It's Buddy Hield is the only guy on the court, and he had Bagley and he had Bogdanovic wide open. Well, Bagley wasn't anymore. That was before the dribbling, but everyone converged on Buddy at the free throw line. Bogey was wide open on the three. It would have been an easy pass to the right, but Buddy didn't look up and didn't find him.
And he was going to his left, and he had his head down, so he couldn't have seen Bogdanovic.
And another thing too is, yeah, he won Coach of the Year, but it doesn't. So what? I mean, he's a good coach. What the Bears did this year was a great season, but let's see if he prolongs it.
Thanks to the Raiders.
Yeah, thanks to the Raiders bonehead trade. Dribbles in circles. So where was I getting at with this? And, the thing is that everyone is making a mountain out of a molehill losing one game to the Warriors. They were expected to lose a couple of these games. They weren't expected to beat Oklahoma City last night in Oklahoma City, and they did it. So that pretty much negates the loss to the Warriors. They're still only a game out of the loss column. They're a game and a half back out of 8. They're only 3 games out of 5. Kings fans need to stop with the bullshit and just fucking move on and stop looking to cause trouble amongst everything and just respect the fact and appreciate the fact that this team is playing well above expectation. The coach is in line to possibly be Coach of the Year. Our general manager is in line for Coach of the or GM of the Year. It was enough time for Fox to get the ball from the inbound and make something happen. Yeah, I mean, sometimes Buddy falls into a black hole, but anyone that says that Jaeger doesn't respect Buddy Hield because of the way he yelled at him doesn't understand what the fuck is going on, because Buddy Hield's play was drawn up on the very next play. If he didn't respect him, he wouldn't have put the ball in Buddy's hands. It would have went somewhere else. So this argument should be put to rest. Focus on the next game, which I don't even know who the hell we're playing next. My cloud's our head's in a cloud right now because of all this shit going on. But with that being said, the Kings are 31-28. They're right in the playoff hunt. It's time for us to focus on that and stop looking for every little thing to complain about.
All right, I'm gonna. What's this one? This is somebody made this post a couple hours ago.
We got to hurry up though because the Shark guys are coming on in 5 minutes.
Okay. Honestly, I don't like the new starting 5. The reason why we traded for Barnes is we need a true small forward and can compete to, because that was our problem before. For me, he doesn't fit at power forward, and just put back a smaller shooting forward. Bro, I don't care who starts for power forward, Bagley or Belly. Just let Barnes play at small forward. He didn't score a lot of points last night, but we don't need scoring. He shut down Paul George. Shut him down.
Without a doubt. And there was a lot of posts around the entire NBA about that holy crap, Barnes shut that down.
So
Paul George has been averaging like damn near 40 a game, it seems like.
He's the second leading scorer in the NBA.
Right, and he didn't do shit last night. So how about we stop complaining about every little damn thing? I can almost guarantee you that Jaeger will win coach if he won Coach of the Year and the Kings were going to extend him, Sammy and these guys would be pissed. And they would bitch about it. Even if they won a playoff series, it's just ridiculous. Tomorrow's a huge game because it would give us the opportunity to beat Milwaukee at home and go 3-2 in the first 5-game stretch. Then the schedule opens up for us. Absolutely. Drew up final play for the ball to be in Buddy's hands. Joe hit it on the head. The Kings are more longer playing above expectation. That ship has sailed. The Kings are now expected to win more games, and that's why the fans be ignorant. No, they're not. They're still expected to be an under 500 team. This team is not expected to make a playoff run. They're exceeding expectations tenfold right now.
And this team is a 500 doesn't
mean it changes.
This team is a 500 team. If they play it how they are and they play everything right, they're a 500 team. If they get a couple of breaks and win a couple of games that they should have lost, then they're going to be a 45-win team. But right now, this team is a 41-game winning team. And I will take that every day of the year over a 17-win team that we've had for the last how many years.
Yep. All right. So here's the last thing we're going to read. I have 2 quotes we're going to read from the chat box, and then we are going to go ahead. Yeah, Brewers should get a little bit more playing time. I'll agree with you on that one, Sammy. He lit it up against Golden State. Kurt Wise said PG-13 is MVP, and if you ask me, 30 points per game and Defensive Player of the Year. You're Uriel, sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, Ariola. It's the things that don't show up in the stat line. We mentioned that earlier about Barnes. Thomas Yeager could cure cancer, and those dudes would still be pissed. Absolutely. Those fans who bitch and complain have clearly never saw a game when George Karl was head coach. There was one more. Where was it? Oh, that was the last one. Okay. Oh, no. Eddie Hernandez. We're going to end it with this because this is the final thing that we're going to do. I'm going to put it on the screen so everyone can see it. I said I don't know who we play next. We play the T-Wolves. We're making things happen. Time to move on from this and get ready for the homestand. So with that being said, let's see. We were when the season started. No, Charlie, that's a fan expectation. It's still the just because they're winning games doesn't mean it changes the overall expectation. This team was supposed to be a bad team. Until the season ends, as long as they stay good, they're still a overperforming team. End of story. Until a season starts where they're expected to be a playoff team, then the expectation is still where the season starts. They expected them to be bad, and they're overachieving. This team was supposed to win 20 games all season. Yeah, you got it right. 9-21 versus 500 teams, 22-7 versus under, which is rare for the Kings. They normally play the other way around. Yeah, with that being said, we play the T-Wolves next. Let's focus on it. Let's get ready for the homestand. It's a lot of good games, a lot of good teams. And you guys are missing the thing that, and I kind of need to get tickets for Wednesday against Milwaukee because Big Boy's performing at halftime, man. Southern Playalistic Cadillac music. Let's go. I know Joe's going to be there. Kings are going to be all right. Fans are not used to early success. They're greedy. It's a process, and we are ahead of schedule. That's what we're ending with. The Sixers had the process. We have the patience. Joe, let's run that. For Greg Veroza, I'm Greg Bowl. If you're a Sharks fan, Sharks Talk 916 is following us right now. You could check us both on iTunes. Nolan and Chad will be joining their broadcast here in just a few moments. They're going to break down the San Jose Sharks, their good season, which is also a little bit above expectation. And
I've been watching a lot of Sharks with no basketball over the All-Star break. I watched 3 or 4 games. It's pretty good.
So if you're a Sharks fan, stay tuned. They're coming up in the next minute or two. For Greg Veroza, I'm Greg Bowl. This was episode 273. We thank you all for your participation. Please follow our page. We're going to have a lot of Kings discussion going on during the week, and we will see you guys next Sunday.
Night, Larry. Kurt,
appreciate you, man. Have a good one, guys.